Hello, thank you for joining us today on the channel. In today's video, we want to look at the analysis of the poem The Breasts of the Sea by Syl Cheney-Coker. Before we continue, let's have a brief discussion about the poet. Syl Cheney-Coker, born in Freetown in 1945, is a renowned Sierra Leonean poet, novelist, and journalist. He received his early education in Sierra Leone before pursuing higher studies in the United States at the University of California, the University of Oregon, and the University of Wisconsin-Madison. Although he returned to Sierra Leone, he spent much of his life in the United States and also lived briefly in Nigeria and the Philippines. Background to the poem. The 20th century, that is the period between 1901 and year 2000, saw remarkable scientific advancement that greatly improved human lives. However, it was marked by unprecedented destruction, including the World War I and the World War II, the rise in terrorism, weapons of mass destruction, and worsening climate and ecological disasters. In Africa, while the century brought independence and the end of apartheid in South Africa, many nations, including Sierra Leone, suffered from internal conflicts, repressions, and war. Sierra Leone endured a brutal civil war from 1991 to the year 2002, driven largely by the struggle over diamond resources. The war claimed over 50,000 lives and displaced around 500,000 people. Syl Cheney-Coker, a Sierra Leonean poet, reflects on these global and local tragedies, especially the devastation of his homeland. He invokes the sea as a symbol of nature, motherhood, loss, and turmoil. Let's go to the summary of the poem. The poem, The Breasts of the Sea, highlights nature's resilience in the face of human destruction, particularly during the violence that characterized the 20th century. The poet portrays the era as marked by widespread bloodshed, from personal conflicts to global wars like the World Wars, whose devastating impact extended to the sea, the environment, and nature in general. The sea becomes a symbol of suffering inflicted by human actions. While initially addressing global turmoil, the poet gradually shifts focus to his homeland, Sierra Leone, using the sea to reflect the country's own tragedies. Through this, the poem laments the environmental and emotional toll of war, especially the civil war that ravaged Sierra Leone. It emphasizes the strength of nature amid human-inflicted chaos. Now let's go to stanza by stanza analysis of the poem, beginning from stanza 1. Okay, before we go to the stanza by stanza analysis of the poem, I want to quickly remind you to subscribe to this channel. Do not wait to the end of the video, cause you might forget. Do it now. It doesn't cost a dime. Let's return to the lesson. Stanza 1. After a bloody century, the sea will groan under its weight, somewhere between breasts and anus. Filled with toxins, her belly will not yield new islands, even though the children of East Timor wish it so. The first stanza reflects on the destructive legacy of the 20th century, marked by wars, imperialism, and environmental degradation. Do not forget, we said that the 20th century, between 1901 and 2000, is a period of advancement in technology, industrialization, and devastating wars. No wonder the poet called the century the Bloody Century. The Bloody Century evokes global conflict whose death and waste burden the sea. Imagined as a maternal body that both nurtures and absorbs humanity's violence, the sea as a mass body of waters surrounding the earth is polluted by various activities, including slaves. Unrecorded numbers of sick African slaves were cast into the sea because they could not make it to the foreign lands. Because the sea is polluted by toxins, from war casualties and industrial waste, the sea can no longer generate new islands. Reference is also made to the children of East Timor, also called orphans of East Timor. An estimated 1,900 East Timorese children separated from their parents in September 1999, when the former Indonesia province voted for independence. In response, the Indonesian military separated East Timorese children from their homes. The reference to the children of East Timor highlights historical suffering, colonization, and a yearning for forgiveness and rebirth that remains unfulfilled due to enduring scars of conflicts. Stanza 2. The sea is only capable of so much history. Noah's monologue, the Middle Passage's cargoes, Darwin's examination of the turtle's sheet, the remains of the Titanic, and a diverse story about how the coelacanth was recaptured. Anything else is only a fractured killer we cannot preserve once the sea's belly has washed itself clean of our centuries' blight. This stanza shows that the sea has limits to how much of human history it can bear. Look at the first line of the stanza. The sea is only capable of so much history. This line means that the sea has a limit to how much of human history, memory, and suffering it can contain or preserve. Although the sea has witnessed and absorbed major defining events, such as the biblical flood, slavery, scientific discovery, and famous shipwreck, it cannot hold everything humans throw at it. Some experiences, especially the moral and environmental damage of the modern age, are too excessive and corrosive to be retained by the sea. Thus, the sea eventually cleanses itself by washing away unbearable traces of human wrongdoing and leaving only a few monumental histories behind. The poet identifies the monumental, unchangeable burden the sea bears. Number 1, the flood in the days of Noah as recorded in the holy books. 2, the trauma of the Middle Passage. The Middle Passage's cargo refers to the ships with which African slaves were moved from their continents to the New World during the transatlantic slave trade. 3, Darwin's scientific sampling of turtles in his theory of evolution. 4, the Titanic's wreck. The Titanic was the famous British passenger ship which sank in the North Atlantic Sea, killing about 1,500 people in 1912. And 5, the rediscovery of the coelacanth. Coelacanths are a species of fish that people thought they had gone into extinct millions of years ago until they were discovered again in 1938. These 5 burdens signify creation, exploitation, knowledge, tragedy, and survival. Beyond these, other human experiences are fragile and irretrievable. They are likened to a fractured killer that cannot be preserved by the sea. They underscore the intractable maladies of the 20th century, which are slavery, imperialism, war, and pollution, which the sea must eventually cleanse from itself. Stanza 3. Throbbing the sea's breasts will console some exiles. Even though shot out of Australia, drifters on a tired moon. But Sierra Leone won't be worth a raped woman's cry. Despite her broken back, this shredded garment, her hand swimming like horrors of red corals. But do you, O sea, long-suffering mistress, have the balm to heal the wound of her children, hands to fit the axe, alluvial river flowing into you? This stanza presents the sea as a living mother who can console those who are displaced and oppressed, like the native people of Australia. The sea's motherhood is symbolized by the word breasts. The verb throbbing suggests endurance and regenerative power. However, as much as the sea can console others, this consolation does not extend to Sierra Leone. Look at the line. But Sierra Leone won't worth a raped woman's cry. The country is portrayed as brutally violated by slavery, colonialism, and particularly a very devastating civil war marked by rape, suffering, and merciless killings. The Sierra Leone Civil War lasted about 11 years, 1991 to 2002. It was estimated that over 50,000 people were killed, including unarmed civilians. These were women and children. People's hands were chopped off with axes, and some were mercilessly burnt to death. The image of a broken back and shredded garment depict irreversible damage and trauma, especially to women and children of Sierra Leone. The poet pessimistically asked whether the sea still has the healing balm to heal such deep wounds. That was the stanza by stanza analysis of the poem. Let's quickly go to devices and figures of speech. The first figure of speech we are going to identify from the poem is personification. Personification can be found in line 1. The sea will groan. The sea will groan. Groaning is an action that could be carried out, that could be done by a human. So now the fact that the sea, this action is transferred to the sea has been personified. It has been made to behave like a person. The sea will groan in line 1. Also in lines 2 and 3, the sea is described as having breasts, anus, and belly. These are the characteristics of a person. So that's also an example of a personification. Also in line 13, throbbing. The sea will console some exiles. Consolation, that the fact that the sea is consoling some people, that is also an example of personification. The second device is metaphor. Metaphor. In line 10, anything else is only a fractured killer. Killer is the claw or the hands of animals like crab, lobster, and shrimps. Here, all human atrocities that the sea cannot bear are compared to a wounded killer, useless and insignificant. We also have metaphor in line 15. But Sierra Leone won't be worth a raped woman's cry. The phrase, a raped woman's cry, is a metaphorical representation of the agonies of the civil war in Sierra Leone. Line 18 also has an element of metaphor. But do you, O sea, long-suffering mistress? Here, the sea is compared to a long-suffering mistress. The sea is compared to a mistress. So that is an example of metaphor. The third device is apostrophe. Apostrophe is achieved when a non-human entity, an absent or dead human, is addressed as if it were present or could hear the speaker. Lines 18 to 20. But do you, O sea long-suffering mistress, have the balm to heal the wound of our children, hands to foot the axe, alluvial river flowing into you? Here, the sea is addressed as if it could hear the persona. But do you, O sea, long-suffering mistress? This is an example of apostrophe. In number 4, we have symbolism. Some elements in the poem are used symbolically. The sea is used symbolically in this poem. First, the sea symbolizes nature. Human activities, including industrialization of the 20th century, fuel the nature with toxins, as we can find in line 3. The sea also symbolizes a consoling mother. The fact that the sea is made to have breasts lends credence to its motherhood. The sea symbolizes kindness with its consoling power. Red corals in line 7 symbolizes war. The agonies of red corals symbolizes the agonies of war. Another device used in the poem is rhetorical question. Rhetorical question can be found in lines 18 to 20. But do you, O sea, long-suffering mistress, have the balm to heal the wound of her children? Hand to foot the axe, alluvial river flowing into you. The whole of these 3 lines is just one question. This question is not asked to elicit an answer. It is to show how difficult it is for Sierra Leone to be healed of her wounds. In number 6, we have allusion. We have biblical allusion in line 6, Noah's monologue. This is recorded in the Bible. So that is biblical allusion. Then we have historical allusion, as we can find in line 6. The Middle Passages cargoes. This refers to the voyage of slave cargoes transporting slaves from West Africa in the transatlantic slave trade. Also, in line 8, there is historical allusion. The sinking of the Titanic in the North Atlantic Sea in 1912. There is also a historical allusion in line 4. The children of East Timor refers to thousands of children forcibly separated from their families when Indonesia occupied Timor. Then in line 9 as well, about how the coelacanth was recaptured. The coelacanth is a type of fish that people had thought they were no longer existing until they were found again in 1938. There is also a scientific allusion in line 7. That is about Charles Darwin's theory of evolution, where he used the tortoise. Another device used in the poem is imagery. We have auditory imagery in line 1, groan. The word evokes the sound of suffering, groan, which amplifies the emotional weight of the sea's burden. We also have kinesthetic imagery in line 13, throbbing. This word conveys a pulsating, painful movement. It suggests the sea's restlessness and endurance. There is also visual imagery in line 17. Red corals. The image of red corals brings a vivid bloody war scene. It symbolizes violence, blood, and hidden trauma. Let's quickly go to the themes of the poem. The first theme is the theme of destruction. Destruction. The poem highlights the theme of destruction through references to global tragedies like wars, genocide, slavery, and disasters such as the Titanic, the World Wars I and II, and even the Civil War. These events symbolize the immense human and environmental loss of the 20th century. The Sierra Leone Civil War, which is marked by brutal violence, killings, and lasting trauma, is a particularly devastating example of this destruction. The destruction and effect of the Sierra Leone Civil War is indelible, and the poet believes that its effect can never be erased, that he questions whether the sea has the healing balm to heal the country of the deep wound from the Civil War. The second theme is the theme of endurance. The theme of endurance. Despite enduring a century of violence and exploitation, the sea symbolizes resilience. It bears the weight of history's horror, yet continues to offer comfort to the displaced. The sea reflects nature's enduring strength amid human-inflicted suffering. Hence, the poet describes the sea as a long-suffering mistress. In number 3, we have the theme of motherhood and nurture. The sea is personified as a maternal figure, a mother. The sea is a long-suffering mistress with breasts that console orphans and exiles. This evokes the nurturing and life-giving roles of the sea. Even amid chaos and suffering, it reflects the paradox of a force that both sustains and swallows life. The next theme in number 4 is the theme of hopelessness and despair. Despite the sea's endurance, the poet expresses doubt about the possibility of healing Sierra Leone, the poet's country. The rhetorical question at the end of the poem, "But do you, O sea, long-suffering mistress, have the balm to heal the wounds of our children?" suggests a deep pessimism about the redemption or recovery from the wounds inflicted by humanity, especially during the Civil War. The last one we have on the list is the theme of environmental degradation. The poem also addresses environmental degradation. It portrays the sea as polluted by human activities. Toxins and waste have corrupted its purity, preventing it from sustaining life or offering its natural gifts. This reflects a broader warning about humanity's careless exploitation of nature and the urgent need for environmental responsibility. Here we have come to the end of this video. We have done the analysis, summary, figures of speech, themes, and the general meaning of the poem. If you have any question concerning the poem, do not hesitate to ask in the comment section of this video. Remember to subscribe to this channel, share this video, and drop your comment. Thank you for being here. See you some another time. Bye-bye.